Hey gang, greetings to you. I hope this finds you well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, or maybe watching this video. This one goes back, way back when in time, in 1996 to be precise, when Tupac Shakur was murdered by multiple shot wounds that erupted from a white Cadillac that pulled next to the BMW that he was riding in. Of course, he was not himself driving the BMW. Serge Knight was driving that night, or rather that unfortunate day when Tupac was shot by multiple wounds. Now, what was rather interesting, it appeared to the public that the Las Vegas police and the system generally in the US had absolutely no interest in resolving this case. But now we learn 27 years later that justice has finally caught up with the perpetrators of this crime. It is alleged that three of them are already dead, and this individual who went around bragging, claiming bragging rights about his presence in the Cadillac, white Cadillac that had shot Shakur, has now been arrested. Let's just listen in and hear what the marshal has to say here.
My name is Jason Johansson, and I'm the homicide lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And my goal here today is to walk you through our investigation and what led us to the indictment of Duane Davis, also known as Keffe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur. This case has been reviewed by our homicide team and homicide detectives for over 2.5 decades. And ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off.
That's a mugshot right there of Duane Keffe D Davis, the gentleman who was the mastermind behind all of this. That's his mugshot over there, right there. He's now 60 years old. My goodness. You know, this gives credence to what they say in my mother tongue, ityala aliboli kwaye alingomafutha, meaning alosuleli ityala. Whatever you do today will catch up with you. It doesn't matter how long, but it certainly will. This man is 60 years old, and now what he did when he was 27 years ago for him would have been 33 years old. When he was in his early 30s, is now catching up with him. Wow, wow, wow. How long is the arm of justice? Amazing. Nevertheless, let's continue.
Let me walk you through a timeline of events that as we know them right now. Prior to September 7th of 1996, as we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Duane Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips. And both of these gangs operated out of the Southern California area of Compton. On the night of September 7th of 1996, Tupac Shakur, along with Suge Knight, and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Duane Davis, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM, and at that time they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to this incident. And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight. Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur. Following this incident, Tupac and Suge Knight both left the MGM to make their way to a post-fight party, which was to occur at a local nightclub. At the same time, word had spread amongst members of the Southside Compton Crips of what had occurred inside the MGM, and then that's when Duane Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson. After Davis obtained a gun, he entered into a white Cadillac along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson. Based on our investigation, this is where we know they were seated. At some point in time, as they were in the white Cadillac, Mr. Davis took the gun that he had obtained and provided it to the passengers in the rear seat of the vehicle. As they were driving west on Flamingo Road near Koval, they located the black BMW, which was driven by Suge Knight, and in the passenger seat was Tupac Shakur. And as they turned around, they pulled up near the passenger side of that vehicle and immediately began shooting at Mr. Knight and Mr. Shakur. Following that shooting, the white Cadillac fled the area southbound on Koval, and after our officers arrived on scene, Tupac was later transported to the University Medical Center, where he was treated medically and died approximately 6 days later on September 13th.
Now, I want you to know that this matter could have been resolved a long time ago, because since 2 years after Math, Keffe D has been bragging that he was in the Cadillac that erupted the bullets that shot Park, but he himself was not the shooter. He claims that bullets came from the back seat in the car in which he was riding. Now, and then, of course, he said, in the hood, you don't tell, otherwise you become a snitch. But wait a minute. The words that he was using publicly, saying he was in the car where the shooter was at, he was already self-snitching, because the law of Las Vegas and many states in America are, if, I'll give you an example, which I think they would have given themselves either in this video or another one, that if you have two people to commit a crime, let us say bank robbery, and then one goes into the bank to physically rob the bank, pointing the gun at the people, get the money. The other one never ever sees the bank inside. He sits in the car as a getaway driver. When they are both arrested, they will be co-conspirators, and the one that never entered the bank will receive exactly the same sentence as though he had carried the bank robbery by himself. This is a law in America, right? In Las Vegas, to be precise. So for Keffe D to go publicly claiming that he was in the Cadillac that shot at Park's BMW, that for me was self-snitching. And this self-snitching happened since 1998. Then in 2018, he wrote a book wherein he literally self-snitched and gave a little bit more detail that led then to the investigation in 2019 that led to this arrest that we see today. Amazing. Really amazing. What would possess a human being to go around bragging about a crime that he perpetrated so many years ago? Is it that maybe he's suffering from, he wants validation of some sort, he wants popularity? I don't really know what besieged him this way, particularly now that 3 of his accomplices are gone. He's the only one left. Maybe indeed this thing was bothering him. I don't know, but I just find it extremely foolish to go around bragging about a crime that you perpetrated so many years ago. That's called self-snitching. Doesn't make sense at all. Okay, but nevertheless, when you look then at the time frame from 1998, when he first self-snitched on television stations, the police still felt they didn't have adequate evidence, because his claims at the time were not documented, and perhaps he could simply go back on his word or something like that. You be the judge if the police were justified when someone is making such a statement publicly not to grab him at that very time, because Park's mom was still alive at the time, and today she's no more. So the point though to this story is, um, his family may have felt that justice was done. Now, of course, there is an alternative theory as to why the police didn't arrest anybody at that particular moment in time, because of the violence that would have ensued. That is the gang violence on both these gangs. It's unfortunate that such talent was taken that much early in his life. He was only 25 years old when he died. But you could see on the video that they showed there that Tupac really lacked emotional intelligence. He literally had his emotions up his sleeves, because why would he participate? Eh, If you understand how popular Tupac was, already by the time he was going to this fight of Mike Tyson, why would he have participated in a crime like that of hitting somebody publicly? Yes, indeed, this Anderson gentleman is said to have robbed a friend of his. And so when they saw him there at Las Vegas, they literally wanted to avenge the robbery. But wait a minute, you are a well known celebrity by this time. Why would you participate in a crime in a public domain? And guess what? That was the last crime he was going to commit, because Keffe D is said to be the uncle to the boy that they beat to a pulp that day. Hence, the what to call, he organized the hit. And it is said that that boy himself was what we call in South Africa Ingabi. So Park really messed himself big time by getting involved. And then the lesson for the youth, for the youngsters, even for middle-aged people, is really master your emotions. Do not go around getting yourselves in unnecessary fights. Yes, you can be a peacemaker, but don't go around trying to be a macho man, because not everybody is your size, and other people are going to find an alternative route. And today, firearms are readily available for many, or it could be a knife for that matter, because human beings do bleed. And if somebody just stabs you once in the neck, you may either be permanently paralyzed or you may be gone for life. So these are the things that people need to consider when they think about this. And it's clear when you look at this that yes, today it seems as though justice is denied, is justice that has been denied for so many years has been delayed, and now it is about to be served. Wow. So what do you think? Do you think that it would have the same effect as it would have had these people been caught when Park's mother was still alive? And here's the other question. Why did Serge Knight drive? Because there were two roads to go, two ways to go to where they were going. One was the back door, a shortcut. The other one was the mainstream that they were using to get to the after party, right? Why did he choose to go the route that he literally used? And observe, Park's bodyguards were not in this car. That for me still leaves a lot. Look, I was old enough, so I remember the story. And many of my friends, I've never been a Tupac supporter or follower by reason of how I've been raised, but I've never hated him at all. The point though that I'm trying to make is many of my friends at varsity, because at this time I was at varsity, by the time he was shot dead, at varsity they were crazy. They were Tupac fans. All I heard was his songs when I visited their rooms in the dorms, and so on and so forth. But the question that one asks is, I followed therefore the story even at that time. The question that one asks is, why is it that Serge Knight decided to use the road that he used instead of the alternative route? And why is it that Park's bodyguards were sent ahead to the after party and left him behind? That for me still to this day doesn't make sense. But nevertheless, I guess most of these guys today are dead, but those who are still alive and remaining, it would assist if they were to tell the truth for the family, for the closure, because Tupac's stepbrother is still alive. right? For the closure of the family. And yes, this Keffe D person must also tell us what really happened on that particular day, because he has been saying, even in his book, that he's not the one who pulled the trigger, but he was in the car. And therefore, he's as guilty. And he's obstructed justice by not coming forward to the police. Of course, he's a gangster. And he was in an opposite gangster, and he felt that there was a need. He was a mastermind behind this. That's the evidence that the police have at their disposal. I will appraise you of how this case unfolds. But it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And hopefully they will resolve the other one, Biggie Small, right? Notorious B.I.G., as he was known. So really they resolve the other one as well to find out who was behind the murder. I mean, 27 years later. Wow. This should send a chilling message to all the criminals out there, because here's the truth. As a 33-year-old, you are vibrant. Blood is running in your veins. You everything is going for you. Okay, the world is your oyster. In energy-wise, you are alert, and so on and so forth. You are fit. You are at the prime of your prowess. At 60, no, you're not there. At that time, you literally want to relax and enjoy what is left of your life. To go to jail at that time, my goodness, that is a serious get back at the individual, right? And they are going to throw the book at him, make no mistake, and throw the keys away, because they want to make an example of this individual, that you're not going to get away with this crime. Okay. I hope it's just not a what you call a political stance, but I can't see it, because the police are not. They are quite neutral in terms of doing their investigations. They are not linked to Democrats or Republicans in America, thankfully. Okay, folks, you tell me what you think about this. Really, do you think that justice has been done here after so many years? Of course, as I'm saying to you, the police presented evidence to the grand jury. The grand jury now believes they have enough to indict the person. So I'll give an example in our setup in South Africa. So this is like saying the police have presented evidence to the NPA, the National Prosecuting Authority, and the prosecutors are saying, okay, this is enough for us to present it in front of the judge to get a conviction. That's basically what this means. But other than that, prior 2018, they could not go before the judge and successfully get a conviction. That's why Keffe D has never been arrested. That's the reason the police have given. You tell me what to think about it. But as a human being, and as I've said, even though I've never been a Tupac follower, but I was sad when he was shot dead the way he was. And I was sad when Notorious B.I.G. was shot dead the way he was. Of course, there are people who were supporters of Tupac who were very happy when Notorious B.I.G. Died. And the people who were supporters of Notorious B.I.G. were very happy when Tupac was shot dead. Well, I'm neither. I do not belong to any camps. That's not my type of music. And as I said, I've been raised as a conservative from a Christian family. Therefore, the type of music that they were using, if you listen to the lyric content, even though I would listen to it at varsity in the dorms of my fellow students, I could never bring such music to my house, to my parents' house, if I knew what was good for me. Okay, but nevertheless, I never hated on any of these two individuals, but I was not the follower of their music. It played in my friends' rooms. It never even played in my own room, and that is very, very important. But nevertheless, that's not the point. The point I'm making is this. I therefore am objective enough or neutral enough to say that now that they've resolved this case, even the other one, I hope that they'll resolve, and this pretty soon. Okay, guys, let me go. I've given you a lot of information on this one. I think you tell me what you think should happen. You think that this serves justice, or perhaps if it had been done earlier, but I've already explained to you why, if it had been done earlier, the police didn't want to arrest somebody to only release them. This is important for you to understand. Right now, they are quite sure that the jury will find the defendant guilty. So I'll be following the case, and then I'll appraise you accordingly. I think justice is being served right now. Okay, guys, let me run. Cheers.